Galapagos is not an untouched paradise. It is a constant test. Here, every species lives on the edge, and any mistake is costly. Why do some survive while others fall behind? On land, in the air, and in the sea, the game changes fast, and there isn't always a second chance. Today, the question is simple. Who manages to adapt when the future tightens? And before continuing the journey? If this kind of documentary draws you in, like and subscribe so you don't miss the next expeditions. Galapagos works like a living laboratory. Nothing here is excess. Everything is fine-tuned. Isolation shaped unique species, but it also reduced the margin for error. Those who manage energy better remain. Those who fail, pay. In Galapagos, nothing happens on impulse. Every movement has a cost, every pause as well. While some groups gain ground, others begin to feel the pressure. Here, survival is not brute force, it's reading the environment. And those who misread it fall behind. Not every adjustment works. When food disappears or conditions change, strategy must change, fast. Some groups read the signs, others persist. Here, stubbornness costs energy. Sometimes it costs the entire opportunity. And the question lingers, who realizes it in time? When energy drops, behavior changes. Groups fragment, attempts become shorter, risk increases. This isn't drama, it's biological math. Here, making the same mistake twice is already too much, and the environment doesn't wait for anyone to recover. When the environment tightens, there's no longer time to wait for ideal conditions. Decisions become faster, and mistakes more expensive. Some groups take risks too early, others hold back too long. No choice is neutral anymore. And from here on, the cost begins to appear in change. Now, the pace changes completely. Opportunities become rare, and competition appears in every move. Those who hesitate lose ground. Those who push too hard spend what they don't have. This is where the game begins to separate adaptation from insistence. And if this kind of documentary draws you in, like and subscribe, because from now on, every decision carries more weight. When resources grow scarce, the struggle is no longer silent. Space, food, time, everything becomes territory. There's rarely direct confrontation. It's constant pressure. Those who arrive first take it. Those who arrive later improvise. And not every improvisation ends well. As competition intensifies, not everyone can keep up. Some groups lose access, others lose time. And here, time is everything. There are no villains in this process, only limits. The environment begins to choose who stays in the game and who is left behind. There comes a moment when waiting is no longer an option. Here, some decisions have no return. Changing route, changing pace, changing target. All of it demands an immediate price. Those who get it right gain breathing room. Those who fail now rarely recover. After the first losses, the system stabilizes, but at a harsher level. Fewer attempts, less margin, less error allowed. Those who made it this far are already playing a different game. Now, adaptation stops being a test, it becomes identity. And what comes next will separate survival from permanence. The system now demands precision. Deciding too fast costs energy. Deciding too late costs opportunity. Some groups get the timing right. Others miss by little. And that little makes the difference. Here, no decision is neutral. Every choice pushes the game forward, or pushes you out. Not everyone fails in the same way. Some adjust quickly, learn from mistakes, and move on. Others repeat the pattern, even after the environment has already warned them. In Galápagos, insisting too much isn't persistence, it's waste. From this point on, some doors simply close, not due to lack of effort, but due to accumulated wear. When the wrong choice is repeated, the environment responds by cutting alternatives. Space shrinks, time shortens, and catching up becomes increasingly unlikely. Now, getting it right has become the exception. When it happens, it makes a real difference. It's not luck. It's precise reading at the right moment. Those few correct decisions keep some groups in the game, while others begin operating at the absolute limit. Here, mistakes don't knock you out immediately. They accumulate. An extra expense today becomes a limitation tomorrow. The body feels it before behavior changes. And when correction comes too late, the system has already done the math. At this stage, the game is no longer balanced. Some groups carry disadvantages that didn't appear now. They were accumulated. Less energy means fewer options. Fewer options mean predictable decisions. And predictability here is weakness. When everything seems decided, the environment changes the rules. Currents alter routes, conditions shift, food moves. For some, this opens a gap. For others, it's the final blow. In Galápagos, adaptation is not a state, it's an immediate response. Change opens a window. Short, unstable, unpredictable. Some groups move in quickly and take advantage. Others arrive late or miscalculate. In Galápagos, opportunity doesn't wait for slow adaptation. Opportunity passes too quickly to become a guarantee. The environment returns to normal, or something worse. Those who gained breathing room must decide how to use it. Spend it now or save it for later. Here, even success can turn into a trap. After so many attempts, the paths become clear. Some groups still advance, others merely resist. It's no longer about choosing the best moment. It's about dealing with the consequences of what's already been done. And from here on, almost nothing will be reversible. Pressure now comes not only from scarcity, it comes from accumulated error. Some groups begin to fail at basic tasks. Others are forced to try something new, even without guarantee. Here, survival stops being routine and becomes improvisation. When the pattern breaks, the body responds before strategy. Some animals look for shortcuts. Others insist where they already failed. None of this is efficient, but it's what remains. Here, survival stops being technique and becomes attempt under pressure. Not every attempt leads to learning. Sometimes it only collects the cost. One wrong route, one imprecise calculation, and the price appears too quickly. Here, it's not about insisting or giving up. It's about accepting that some choices close paths forever. After the first failures, the system doesn't announce decisions. It simply moves on. Those who can't keep up disappear from the equation. There is no rescue, no compensation, only an environment that continues, even when some have already fallen behind. There is no pause when the system enters a slow collapse. What remains is managing losses, not avoiding them all. Some still continue, others vanish without a trace. And if this kind of journey draws you in, it's worth liking and subscribing, because from here on, each block weighs more than the last. Pressure doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates silently until it demands payment at the wrong moment. Mistakes that once seemed small now limit the body. Space shrinks, time tightens, and moving forward begins to cost more than stopping. Pressure no longer pushes the body. It locks the decision. Enter or wait. Move forward or conserve. In some cases, the attempt dies before it even begins. And when doubt becomes a pattern, the environment gains the advantage, without needing to move. There comes a point when waiting costs more than risking, even without certainty, even outside the ideal moment. Some move forward knowing the price may be high. Others continue because no alternative remains. Here, the attempt is born as debt, and the system collects quickly. The response comes fast, not always as victory, and not always as total defeat. Sometimes the environment simply returns less than what was invested. The body feels it before the landscape changes, and what seemed like an opportunity becomes a limitation for the next move. After the loss, there is no room left to insist. Some change route, timing, or behavior. Others simply fail to adjust in time. Here, adaptation is not an advantage. It is the minimum requirement. And those who fail to meet it stop participating in the game. There comes a moment when the environment stops testing. It begins selecting. Not by strength or speed, but by efficiency. Those who still waste energy fall behind. Those who read the rhythm correctly move on. And from here on, the group that remains is the final group. When the system stabilizes like this, it isn't balance, it's containment. Every movement is calculated. Every mistake would be fatal. The environment appears calm, but that calm exists only because almost no options remain. When the system closes, there are no alternatives left. Routes disappear, windows narrow. The environment demands absolute precision. Those who don't fit the rhythm now are left outside, not because of a recent failure, but because there is no room left to correct the past. In Galápagos, limits rarely arrive in dramatic form. They approach in silence. Space contracts, Time does too. Now, there is no ideal choice, only the possible one. And when the environment dictates the next step, resistance is no longer an option. In Galápagos, the end does not come with warning. It presents itself as a simple choice, one that can no longer be avoided. Here, every survivor faces the same dilemma. Spend what remains now, or carry that decision all the way to the final limit. In Galápagos, reaching this point guarantees nothing. Now, the goal is simple. Don't break. Every movement costs. Every mistake weighs heavier. It's not about defeating the environment. It's about enduring long enough not to disappear. In Galápagos, survival demands more than saving energy. Sometimes staying still is already too late. Wear makes no sound. It only reduces options, until one of them simply disappears. In Galápagos, it's not the decision that fails first. It's the body. Even those who adjusted begin to lose margin. Less strength, less time. And from here on, resisting demands more than many can sustain. In Galápagos, not every failure leaves a trace. Sometimes there is no fall and no final struggle. There is only an empty space where someone used to be. And when that happens, the system has already moved on. Not everyone falls at the same time. Some simply stop keeping pace. Space shrinks, time shortens, and little by little the system begins to decide who can still continue and who has already been left behind. There comes a point when moving forward is no longer common. It becomes the exception. The environment doesn't need to accelerate. It simply maintains the pressure. And those still here remain because they can endure a little longer. There comes a point when moving forward is no longer common. It becomes the exception. The environment doesn't need to accelerate. It simply maintains the pressure. And those still here remain because they can endure a little longer. The margin is gone. There is no space to correct, no time to compensate. Preserving what remains is already maximum effort. Any deviation, no matter how small it seems, is now enough to end the trajectory. Not every exit is noticed when it happens. Sometimes it only reveals itself through the silence that remains. The space changes. The rhythm does too. And what once still endured can no longer keep up. Now there is no visible effort left. What remains neither advances nor retreats. It simply stays. This is the limit. Not because it is safe, but because any step beyond it would no longer be possible. There comes a moment when the environment no longer applies pressure. It decides. What remains must pass through a narrow threshold without any guarantee. It is not strength or persistence that defines who passes. It is compatibility. Those who can still function within this limit move on. The rest are left behind, not for failing now, but for no longer fitting what the system demands. Not every limit signals when it has been crossed. Sometimes the passage feels like the ones before, until it isn't. Here, The system does not correct, does not wait, does not compensate. It simply continues. And when that happens, there is no return possible. What was left behind no longer takes part in the outcome, not for lack of effort, but because the threshold has already been crossed. After the limit, there is no celebration, only adjustment. The system finds a new balance, smaller, more restricted, more costly to sustain. What remains is not the strongest, nor the fastest. It is what can function within these rules. And for now, that is enough to continue. Nothing here truly ends. What we see is only a pause, a reduced, adjusted system still in motion. These species did not win, they persisted. And understanding that changes how we observe the natural world. If this kind of journey draws you in, it's worth liking and subscribing. Because continuing to observe, with attention and respect, may be the most important part of this story.